So, I want you to picture a scenario.
Okay,
It's 11:30 p.m. Let's say it's a Tuesday,
naturally.
right? And you are lying in bed. The blue light of your phone is the only thing illuminating the room, and you're just doom scrolling through interior design feeds.
We've all been there.
Yeah. And then suddenly you see it. You see the one.
The holy grail of home decor.
Exactly. It is the rug that is going to tie your entire living room together. It's got that perfect vintage fade. The colors are exactly what you've been hunting for, and the price.
Probably feels like a mistake.
Yes. It's surprisingly affordable. You can already see yourself, sipping coffee with your feet resting on that plush pile. So you click add to cart, you punch in your credit card info, and you feel that specific dopamine hit of a job well done.
Right, you've solved the room.
You have solved the room. But, and here is the question we are asking today on the deep dive, and it's a big one, is that click actually the start of a solution? Or did you just invite a logistical and aesthetic nightmare right into your home?
Honestly, it's usually the latter.
Because when we looked at the data for today, the reality of buying rugs online is, well, it's a lot messier than those perfectly staged Instagram photos would have you believe.
It really is. It turns out that buying a rug online is less of a shopping trip and more of a gamble.
Yeah.
And it's a gamble where the house usually wins.
So to figure this out, we aren't just looking at, a handful of angry Yelp reviews.
No. We have an incredibly comprehensive source today provided by Carpet eWorld. They call it a 360-degree voice of customer map.
Which sounds, incredibly corporate. Let's unpack what that actually means for you listening.
Basically, they have synthesized global customer reviews, massive complaints databases, and just thousands of raw, unfiltered threads from Reddit.
The real stuff?
Exactly. It's a massive data scrape of what real people are saying after the buy button is clicked. And the headline statistic right out of the gate, it's jarring.
Yeah, hit me with it.
The average sentiment rating for online rug purchases globally sits somewhere between 2 and 4 stars.
2 to 4 stars. That is a massive spread, first of all. But even the high-end 4 stars feels really low for an industry that relies so heavily on visuals.
Right.
Think about it. If a new restaurant opened down the street and it had a 2-star average on Google, I'm crossing the street to avoid it.
Oh, absolutely.
I am certainly not giving them hundreds of dollars of my hard-earned money.
Precisely. It indicates a systemic failure across the board. And our mission today is to uncover why. Why is this seemingly simple act, just buying a textile to cover your floor, generating so much friction?
So you've gone through all this data. What's the diagnosis here? Is it just, people being overly picky about their decor?
I don't think so. If you look at all the data points, they really coalesce around one central tension. The source calls it the expectation versus reality gap.
Okay.
The industry is basically suffering from this massive disconnect between the visual promise made on a screen and the manufacturing reality that actually shows up at your door.
Wow. Okay, let's dive right into that gap then.
Yep.
Segment 1, the visual trap. Because this seems to be the single biggest complaint in the entire data set.
It is, by far. The core complaint is surprisingly simple. The product just looks different in real life.
Right.
But we need to peel that back a bit, because when you're buying online, you have to remember you aren't actually buying a rug.
No.
No.
Oh.
You are buying a JPEG.
A JPEG. That's a cynical but probably highly accurate way to put it. You're literally buying a digital file.
Functionally, yes. You are making a major financial decision based on a high-resolution, professionally lit, heavily color-corrected digital image,
Yep.
but you are receiving a physical textile. And the data shows this causes an immediate trust gap. The specific complaints are so consistent. Muted colors versus the bright photos on the site.
Or the patterns look totally different because the scale wasn't clear on a tiny phone screen.
Exactly.
I saw one quote in the source material that really stood out to me. A user on Reddit described their purchase, and I quote, laughably poor quality product, unusably bad.
Ouch.
That is harsh. Is
Yeah.
that an outlier, or is that representative of the general mood?
It's harsh, but it perfectly reflects that shock of opening the package. The tamester is another huge point of contention here.
Because you can't feel it.
Right. In a photo, you can't feel weight, you can't feel density. People expect something plush and luxurious, and they get something that feels cheap or just way too thin.
Like a towel.
Exactly. The data even highlights reports of rugs arriving with actual defects, torn edges, or looking straight up used right out of the plastic.
So you have this anticipation of luxury, you're excited, and you open the box to find something that looks like an oversized placemat.
Yes. And think about the lighting. That website photo? It was taken in a studio with thousands of watts of perfect, balanced light blasting it.
Right.
Your living room has what, a couple of lamps and a window?
Maybe an overhead light if you're lucky.
Exactly. The sheen of the materials, especially if it's synthetic, it reflects light differently in your house. That is why the colors shift so drastically.
So the photo isn't necessarily lying, technically speaking, but it is presenting a reality that doesn't exist in a normal human home.
Correct. And that is where the trust breaks instantly.
Okay, but let's play along. Let's say the rug is actually okay. Let's say you luck out and you like the look.
Okay.
You still have to get it into your house. And that leads us to the second circle of this particular hell, the logistics nightmare.
Oh, logistics.
I feel like everyone has a shipping horror story, but why is it so notoriously bad, specifically for rugs?
Yeah.
Because I order books, I order clothes, I order small electronics usually, it's totally fine.
You have to think about the physics of it. Rugs are what logistics companies call non-conveyable.
Non-conveyable, meaning they can't go on a conveyor belt.
Exactly. They are bulky, they are incredibly heavy, and they are awkward to handle. They aren't a neat little square box like a book or a pair of sneakers that stacks perfectly on a wooden pallet.
Right, they're essentially giant 80-pound burritos.
Giant burritos. And because they are so awkward to carry, they get dragged. They get dropped. The data shows that logistics is a major trust breaker here. And consider the packaging itself.
It's usually just that thick plastic, right?
Usually just heavy-duty plastic wrap, not a rigid cardboard box. So if that plastic snags on a truck door lash or a delivery driver drags it across a wet concrete porch,
Oh, game over.
completely ruined.
Because unlike a t-shirt where you can just throw it in the wash if the poly mailer rips, if a rug gets wet or muddy in the back of a delivery truck, it's done.
Yeah, one quote from the source explicitly mentioned this. They wrote, "Box broken, no protection." And frankly, calling it a box in this industry is often generous.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really, really frustrating for the customer. Wrong products being shipped.
Like ordering a runner for the hallway and getting a giant area rug instead.
Or vice versa.
Huh.
Because the shipping labels are often just slapped onto that shiny plastic wrapping, they can get torn off or smudged or swapped in the warehouse. The data shows a surprisingly high rate of wrong item received complaints.
That is just soul-crushing. Imagine the friction there. You've moved all your furniture out of the way, you're sweating, you're ready to lay this beautiful thing down, you unroll it, and it isn't even the rug you got.
It's a massive letdown.
And there was another quote about delivery delays, right?
Yes. Someone stated, "No rug, almost a month, no response."
Brutal. Okay, so the visual promise failed, or the delivery truck failed. You are now officially angry. You pick up your phone, or you open that little chat window on the website. This brings us to what the data calls the emotional peak customer service and the dreaded return.
This part is fascinating to me as an analyst because the data shows a very distinct shift right here.
How so?
Customers stop complaining about the product, the inanimate object on their floor, and they start complaining about the company itself. The sentiment becomes highly emotionally charged.
It's personal now. You feel wronged by a person, not a piece of fabric.
It is personal. The complaints pivot to unhelpful agents, rude interactions, and just a total lack of accountability from the brands.
Do we have specific examples of companies struggling with this?
We do. There is a specific data point here that is quite damning. The source mentions the company Rugs Direct specifically having a 2.1 star rating in this dataset with frequent vocal complaints about their customer service.
2.1 stars. That is barely functional. That is a failing grade in literally any other context.
Exactly, and one customer just bluntly summed it up by saying, "Customer service is a joke."
Yeah.
But the real trap, the thing that makes people feel truly stuck and angry, is the return process itself.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Because if I buy a pair of jeans and they don't fit, I stick a return label on the bag, I drop it at the post office, and I'm done. Easy.
Right, but try doing that with a 9 by 12 wool rug that weighs 60 pounds.
Yeah, you can't exactly stuff that into a mailbox.
Not at all. This introduces the concept of reverse logistics. And for oversized goods, it is structurally painful. It is incredibly expensive to ship a rug back across the country.
So how does it even work?
You often have to schedule a specialized freight pickup. You have to be home for a 4-hour window, you have to somehow rewrap it yourself, and good luck getting it back into that original machine-rolled, tight plastic tube.
Oh, that's impossible.
Yeah.
It's like trying to put toothpaste back into the tube. You just can't do it.
You really can't. And the kicker, the companies often pass that freight cost right back onto you.
So you have to pay to fix their mistake.
Often, yes. The source highlights high return shipping fees and extremely complicated processes. And if you refuse to pay the fee, you run into the store credit trap.
Oh, I absolutely hate this. Explain how this works in the rug industry.
Well, instead of giving you your cash back, they offer you store credit. So you are essentially forced to buy another rug from the exact same company that just disappointed you in the first place.
It locks you into their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Talk about holding a customer hostage. We messed up. We gave you a terrible product, so now you have to buy something else from us.
It's brilliant for their bottom line, but toxic for customer trust.
I also saw a quote about hidden fees during returns. Someone said, charged bogus damage fee, no proof.
Ah, yes, that is the classic he said, she said of e-commerce returns.
How does that happen?
You finally manage to send the rug back, they receive it at their warehouse, and they say, oh, this arrived dirty, we're charging you a 20% restocking fee.
And how do you prove it wasn't dirty when you sent it?
You can't. You have zero leverage. It creates a feeling of absolute helplessness for the consumer.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate for a minute.
Yeah,
Let's say the rug arrives, it looks, okay-ish. It's not perfect, but it's fine.
sure.
And you decide, fine, I'm keeping it. I am not dragging this thing to the post office and paying $50 just to return it. So you put it in your living room.
Okay.
You now enter what we'll call the living with the rug phase. Is the drama over?
Sadly, no. This brings us to the functional issues segment of our deep dive. This is where the hidden costs of ownership really start to kick in.
The things you literally cannot know from a JPEG.
Exactly. The things you only discover after the rug has been on your floor for a few weeks.
What are the big offenders here, according to the data?
Number one is shedding.
Shedding.
Yes. Especially with natural wool rugs or rugs that use what are called staple fibers, which are short strands spun together instead of one long continuous thread.
Okay.
The source notes widespread complaints, with one person saying excessive shedding affects usability.
I have actually experienced this. It is like having a golden retriever in your house that doesn't bark, but just sheds neon fuzz everywhere.
Yeah.
You run the vacuum, and the canister is completely full of carpet fibers in 5 seconds.
And for some of these lower quality rugs, it literally never stops.
Never.
No. The underlying glue breaks down, the short fibers keep pulling out. It just creates a perpetual mess.
That sounds exhausting. What else?
Safety issues. Slippery rugs. One specific quote from the source described a rug as being dangerous like walking on ice.
That seems like a massive liability, like a lawsuit waiting to happen. If the backing is just cheap, hard plastic, it turns your hardwood hallway into a slip and slide.
Exactly. You step on it and the whole rug shoots across the room. And then there's the hygiene aspect.
Oh boy.
This is the gross part of the data. Reddit threads are just full of comments like, always coated with stuck hair, hard to clean.
Ew, why is that?
Synthetic rugs like polypropylene in particular, they can generate static electricity. So they act like a giant magnet for pet hair, human hair, and dust. The vacuum just can't break the static quing to suck it up.
And I imagine with synthetic materials, smells are a factor too.
Huge factor, especially with synthetic glues and latex backings used in cheaper rugs. The off-gassing process can last for months.
Off gas.
Yeah, it literally smells like a chemical factory in your living room for weeks.
The key insight here is that maintenance is a massive frustration driver. But, and this is the crucial part customers rarely anticipate it during the discovery phase.
Right. When you are looking at that pretty picture on Instagram at 11:30 at night, you aren't thinking, how will this smell in July when it's humid?
No, you're just thinking, does it match the curtains?
Exactly. You are thinking entirely about the aesthetic. You aren't thinking about the physical performance of the textile.
You're blind to the practical reality.
So we have painted a pretty bleak picture here today. Visual lies, shipping disasters, rude customer service, hidden return fees, and endless shedding.
It's a tough market.
Is there any silver lining? I mean, why are people still buying these things online? Because the market is absolutely huge.
It is huge. And it's not all bad news. We have to look at what customers actually do like, and it really comes down to aesthetics. Design is the primary driver.
So when it works, it really works. Exactly. When the rug actually matches the photo and arrives intact, people love it. It completely transforms their space for a fraction of the cost of high-end furniture.
And I've seen a lot of buzz online lately about washable rugs. Is that just marketing hype, or is it a real positive trend?
The data shows that is a real major convenience win. The idea that you can just roll up your area rug and toss it in your washing machine is very appealing, especially for pet owners or parents with young kids.
Because it solves that gross hygiene issue we just talked about.
Precisely.
But isn't there a trade-off there? Like, a washable rug has to be pretty thin to actually fit inside a standard washing machine, right?
Yes, exactly. You completely lose the plushness and the weight. It's more of a heavy blanket for your floor. But for many consumers, that's a totally worthy trade-off for the convenience.
And we should probably mention affordability as a positive.
We absolutely should. People really appreciate the low entry price. If you can get a massive room-size rug for a couple $100s instead of a couple thousand, you might be willing to overlook some of those quality issues.
True. If it's cheap enough, maybe you just treat it as a disposable item. You use it for a year or two, it gets gross, and you toss it out and buy another one.
Which is frankly terrible for the environment, but it is completely rational for the individual wallet.
Fair point.
However, there is a much darker side to that low barrier to entry. The source material has an entire section dedicated to trust and fraud.
Oh, this is the scary stuff.
It is. Because it is so easy to set up a slick-looking Shopify store and just drop ship cheap rugs from overseas, it has led to a massive proliferation of scam websites.
Just totally fake companies.
Yes. The data logs widespread issues with fake five-star reviews, unauthorized credit card charges. One person explicitly said $200 out the window.
Yeah.
And companies simply ghosting customers after the payment clears.
Ghosting, like they take the money and just vanish into thin air.
Completely vanish, no tracking number is ever generated, no email response to your inquiries, nothing. The Better Business Bureau, the BBB, has logged multiple severe complaints regarding outright fraud in this specific sector.
So you have to be incredibly careful about where you are actually clicking buy.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of, is this rug going to be good? It's literally, is this store even real?
Exactly. You have to vet the seller as much as the product.
So what does this all mean when we put it all together? You've laid out all these different pitfalls, the visual gap, the logistics, the returns, the fraud. How do we synthesize this into something our listeners can actually use?
The source material offers a really useful framework for this. They call it the customer pain funnel. I think it perfectly visualizes the journey of buying a rug online.
Walk us through the funnel step by step.
Imagine a standard sales funnel, but instead of tracking sales, we are tracking customer sentiment.
Got it.
Step one is discovery. This
Yeah.
is the high. You are browsing, you are attracted by the beautiful design and the low price, you are excited about transforming your room. Sentiment here is at its absolute peak.
Everything is possible. The room is going to look amazing. No problems yet.
Step two is purchase. You might experience a little friction here with unclear shipping policies or weird checkout screens, but you get through it.
You're still feeling good.
Right. Then, step three is delivery. This is where the slide really begins. The anxiety about arrival, the delays, the tracking numbers that don't update, the damaged packages on the porch.
The giant heavy burrito arrives.
Yes. Then we hit step four, which is usage. The shedding starts, the cleaning issues we discussed, the sliding around on the hardwood.
The off-gassing smell.
Exactly. And finally, step five,
What's step 5?
post-purchase. This is the low. This is where you are actively dealing with trying to return the item, fighting with bad customer service, and getting hit with hidden fees.
Wow.
The key takeaway from the synthesis is that the most negative sentiment occurs long after a purchase is made. The expectation versus reality gap actually widens the further you go down that funnel.
That is profound because usually in normal retail, you want the customer to be happiest after they get the product right.
That's the goal.
That's how you get brand loyalty. That's how you get positive word of mouth. But here, the peak happiness is literally just looking at the picture.
Exactly. This industry, at least the mass market online sector of it, seems to be operating on a model where the best moment is the photo, and everything after that is just a slow, painful degradation of trust.
It's almost like the business model relies on the fact that returning the item is just too physically and financially hard, so you'll just give up and keep a rug you hate.
That is certainly what the reverse logistics friction suggests. They bank on your exhaustion.
So let's wrap this up. We want premium looks, we want easy, free returns, and we want it all to be incredibly cheap. But the online rug industry is currently delivering wild variability, logistical headaches, and a massive maintenance burden.
It really is a classic case study in how design-first purchasing buying purely with your eyes crashes violently into performance-based reality, which is living with your feet.
Buying with your eyes versus living with your feet. I like that. it really makes you think about the limits of online shopping in general. I mean, we buy books, we buy electronics, we even buy our weekly groceries online now without thinking twice about
Oh,
it.
sure.
But maybe there are some physical things that just don't translate to a two-dimensional screen.
It raises a very important question about the tactile experience. Can you truly judge a complex textile without touching it, without seeing how the natural light in your specific room hits the weave?
And that is the provocative thought I want to leave you, our listeners, with today. If the online rug market is currently plagued by a fundamental inability to judge quality through a screen, and it's an absolute logistical nightmare to return your mistakes, have we finally reached the limit of what should be bought online?
It's a great question.
Perhaps some things like the very ground we walk on every day still require that old-fashioned physical touch before the credit card ever comes out.
It is definitely something to deeply consider before you click Add to Cart on that next vintage style runner you see on Instagram. Maybe take the time to visit a local showroom first, or at the very least, order a small physical swatch.
Very sound advice. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the surprisingly treacherous world of online rugs. We will catch you on the next one.
Stay curious, everyone.
See you next time.